Welcome back, y'all, to another video. Obviously, today, and finally, it's about Dame time. It's about Dame time. Since the 2018-19 season, the Trailblazers have been trending upward or into contender status really at all, and no moves that they've made have substantially pushed them in any direction except downward, if we're going to be quite frank. Damian Lillard has finally had enough. Instead of pump faking a million times, he decided to go ahead and publicly request a trade. Now, the front office is saying that they're open for business. They're letting all the teams know that since he doesn't have a trade clause, people think Miami that is ahead, but the official statement is this will not be a quick process and Miami does not have any advantage. Now, we do know that Miami did want to go ahead and center a package around Tyler Hero, who was not part of their playoff run last season, along with some draft picks. Now, the thing about Portland is they wanted to find the best deal where they could find a combination of draft picks, young players, and salary compensation in exchange for Dame because of the prolific player that he is. Now, we know he's a substantial scorer. We know he's one of the greatest shooters in the game to date. But we also know that he hasn't really been tried and tested in anything except for the grind and being loyal to a team. Now, there's never been an innate pressure going into the season while he's been with the Portland Trailblazers. And we're going to see this coming season, hopefully, what it's really going to look like when he's put on a contending team and he's expected to perform. Not, oh, he's going to get his 30 a night just because he's Dame, but can they win these games now because they have the pieces to do it? If he goes to the Heat, they're definitely going to be expected to be a title favorite. I don't know if they're still going to be expected to come out of the East because they did lose Max Strus. Gabe Vincent went to the Lakers. And if they give up Tyler Hero, even though he wasn't part of the playoff team, still an important young core piece. And some people are saying that they might have to let Duncan Robinson go in the trade as well, which would sweeten the deal if I'm the Trailblazers, because obviously we did just grab Scoot Henderson in the draft for the 3rd overall pick. So they do have some pieces over there. They just re-signed Jeremy Grant to a tremendous amount of money. I think it was a slight overpay, but in this market right now, it made sense to do it. Now, going forward, the biggest thing is going to be who has the most leverage as far as pieces to offer for Dame. And yes, we love the Heat, and I think the Heat do have the biggest case, but a couple other teams that have been in the mix a little bit have been the Clippers, the Nets, and the 76ers, as well as I heard a little bit about the Spurs. Now, Victor coming into the league alongside Dame being his established point guard would be pretty tough, but I don't know if the Spurs are going to pull the trigger on something like that, so I'm going to go ahead and say that's not very likely. If I'm the Brooklyn Nets, his timeline does match up a little bit better with the Mikal Bridges of the world, but it really doesn't fit the mold of what they're doing, and it seems like they're going into a hard rebuild to a certain extent, and I don't think Dame would be the best suited for that because he wants to go to a contender. An interesting one would be the 76ers, because as we do know, James Harden did opt into his option for the point of a sign and trade, so he wants to go somewhere else. They're exploring options, and they really haven't found one. And after the first 3 days of the free agency period, we're seeing a lot of teams just go out and forsake the Kyrie Irvings of the world and just go straight to getting quality role players at an overpay that we're looking at right now. But it's a thing of they have to use a salary cap or else they're going to end up losing that money later on down the road. Hence the fact that Portland did go ahead and extend Jeremy Grant to a ridiculous amount of money. Now, if I'm Dame, any team that's a contender with quality pieces starting alongside me is an upgrade. It's an upgrade, and that's all that matters, honestly, because it's going to give him the opportunity to showcase his skill in the playoffs, making a deep playoff run, and is going to really see if him grinding all those years was worth it. When Dame has the opportunity to leave, which he does not have a no trade clause, so he cannot control his destiny as far as this goes. He has let them know that his preferred destination is Miami, but the Trailblazers front office is saying, hey, who's got the most to offer? This is a all-NBA caliber player, and he's coming to play. He's coming to ball. He's not going to bring a lot of drama to your locker room. He's a leader, but he hasn't been proven to be a winner yet, and that's the only thing on his resume that needs to be checked off. This is going to be really, really spicy going forward because it's going to shake the league to a certain extent beyond what free agency has so far. We've seen a lot of quality role players go to different teams and flip-flop from contenders to contenders, from the Bruce Browns to the Gabe Vincents. We did see Draymond end up re-signing with the Warriors, which was pleasant to see because that maintains the core and solidifies them as a contender for this upcoming season. Any other team in the league that's not in these sweepstakes, I might be a little bit concerned, especially if I'm a contender. I would love for the Lakers to get in on this, but them just re-signing D'Angelo Russell and getting Gabe Vincent, they're filled out at the point guard position. Would I, as a Lakers fan, be willing to give that up and a little bit more for Dame? Absolutely. But the Lakers have reached a point where they're deep enough and comfortable enough to where they're not forced and pressed for that issue. And D'Lo did have a career year last year. The playoffs were obviously a blemish on his record, but in the regular season, he was definitely phenomenal, especially by his standard. So we can expect him to improve on that. Now, the current favorite, obviously, is the Miami Heat. But I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up finding a new destination just based on what teams decide to jump into the mix and what kind of young pieces and assets they have to offer. Obviously, if a superstar gets offered for Dame, they're probably going to be willing to jump at that. But they did say young players, draft picks, and salary compensation. So they're feeling like going into a soft rebuild. Scoot is more of a NBA now ready point guard. He's not so much a give him 2 or 3 years to develop. He does need to get better at his shooting. So I think from that standpoint, they could stand to give it a season or two. But if they get the right pieces, they could be in the playoffs themselves again come really next year. Like, comment, and subscribe. As always, good morning, good evening, and good night. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.